Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. It's very late in the month, and we're still going through college football. It's currently January 15th, and we have yet to play the national championship game for this season's college football. It's honestly kind of strange. This is like the first year where they expanded the playoff from, I believe just last year it was 8 and now to 12. So they've already expanded it like already within 1 year apart. And it already seems like it's just, for me, dragging. I'll be honest. I'm not the biggest college football guy. I think a lot of people will tell you that, like, I'm just not the biggest fan of college football just because where I'm from, it's more like we care about the professional NFL teams more than college teams. I guess it's just how it is over on the West Coast of the United States. More on the Central and the East Coast care about it more. But over here, we just don't really care about the college game as much as the professional game. But it does feel strange that we are going to be today, January 15th, and still we have not crowned a national champion yet. We have had a lot of bowls since then, and I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about those college football bowls that we've been having. And because of the expansion of the playoff, and with the addition of the transfer portal, we were, I guess, as a college football fan base, they were hoping to get like more of a variety of teams into these playoff games, which are still called bowl games, by the way. We still have the Peach Bowl, we still have the Cotton Bowl, we still have the Orange Bowl, the Rose Bowl. They're just in a format now where it's like a bracket, and it's no longer like the BCS where it was just like by ranking. It's now like whoever gets in the playoff is, going to be in those games. So, because of the transfer portal, because of so much of the changes in college football and the addition of the playoff, we've been getting a lot of different schools into the playoff and into the national championship game itself. We'll get to that in a little bit, but I just kind of wanted to run through some of these bowl games that had occurred, like the big ones that, ultimately lead to the college football playoff. Just kind of going from like the really important ones, right? So we had the start of the playoff, we had Alabama beating Oklahoma 34-24. We had Miami beating Texas A&M 10-3. We had Ole Miss beating Tulane 41-10. We had Oregon beating James Madison 51-34. And now starting the actual bowl games, we had Miami crush Ohio State 24-14. Ohio State being the defending national champion, that does kind of seem strange, right? No, Ohio State was ranked number 2. Miami was number 10. Obviously not how Ohio State wanted to end its season, but I could, probably say that the committee of college football is okay with this happening. It is okay with the we've never seen a Miami get this far before, at least like not in a long, long time. Like, they're okay with that. And I think it with like fans of college football who are expected to see Alabama, LSU, Auburn, even Ohio State, like within contention for the national championship. This is kind of a breath of fresh air. It's not like predictable. And it's not like, it doesn't feel like, oh, of course this is going to happen. Of course this is like, who's going to be in the national championship. It's less expected, and I think that's ultimately what people who like college football either like or don't like. I think that the unpredictability is something that I personally don't mind. But if you are a fan of college football, you are a fan of like the SEC, you might be a little, you might have, you might have to get used to what you're seeing. Um, the next bowl game was the Orange Bowl, where Oregon beat Texas Tech 23-0. That was really a lopsided game. I didn't watch it. I just saw the end score of it. Um, Oregon at that point looked really good, looked pretty awesome. The number 5 school beating number 4 school. I mean, solidifying like, hey, just because you're ranked 4, you've had like a possibly easier schedule. I mean, we have the better team in Oregon. Rose Bowl is where it got kind of crazy. Indiana thwomps Alabama 38-3. This to me was a turning point in the college football atmosphere and the college football entire just ecosystem, the entire college football layout, the powerhouse rankings, the standings in general. Indiana is still to this day undefeated. And this game was crazy because we heard about how good their coach is in Kurt Signetti. You've heard how good their starting quarterback is in Fernando Mendoza. We've heard how good this team is, but we at least I have never really seen them play. And watching them play, man, I mean, they're not like a crazy talented, like super fast team, right? They're a good team, but like Alabama was just really bad in that game. Nothing went their way, and Fernando Mendoza just kind of exposed every single error that they had on defense. And that guy has proven to be the number 1 pick game after game, every game that he plays, for sure. He won the Heisman. Like I said, I'm not really all tuned into college football, but I can see after that game of why he won the Heisman. I did watch this game, and it was sad because seeing Alabama going from how good they used to be to where they're at now is, if you're a Bama fan, this has to be a tragedy. Like, maybe more so than someone in your family passing away. Like, I mean, college football to these people in Alabama is like a religion, is part of their daily life, is something that they don't take lightly. And having Bama lose like that to Indiana, Big Ten school, beats an SEC school, almost unheard of. But it just shows you like this transfer portal thing is like kind of working. It's dispersing players and like good talent, along with having a great head coach and allowing other schools to flourish. Now, maybe this is just going to be my Indiana's one-hit wonder, maybe a lightning in a bottle, but who knows? What if like some kind of like powerhouse is brewing within like this Indiana school led by Kurt Signetti? It could be something much more than meets the eye. It could be even like almost turning into a dynasty. The next game was Ole Miss versus Georgia, an actually entertaining game. Ole Miss beating Georgia 39-34. That game was I didn't see much of it, but for the most part, it was pretty exciting. And another one of the established schools in college football in like the past 8 years, Georgia, losing to Ole Miss, who hasn't sniffed like this close in a long time, is kind of telling. It's got like it tells you like there's a lot of good talent at that school. And obviously the news, right? Former head coach Lane Kiffin is no longer with Ole Miss, but he is now with LSU. But still, for them to still succeed and beat Georgia in this game, is still something of an accomplishment. It's not something so common that you would be like, yo, Ole Miss beat Georgia. No, but it's still like within the SEC, guidelines of like SEC schools are great and other ones are just good, right? So it kind of falls into that nature, following that script, but still kind of a little unheard of. Ole Miss, not really a school that you would associate getting this far into the college football playoff. Um, and this is without Lane Kiffin, like I said. So it shows you like this team is good. The intermittent coach that is coaching the team is also very good. And honestly, like, going forward, Ole Miss could be a really strong school in the future. Georgia was still really good right there, ranked number 3. They still have Kirby Smart as their head coach, but obviously some of that talent's being sucked away to other schools. So, Then we go into the quarterfinals, the semifinals, which is the Fiesta Bowl, where Miami beat Ole Miss 31-27. Miami, becoming what it used to be back in the day, a school contending for a national championship, led by Carson Beck, Mario Cristobal as the head coach. I'll be honest with you, like Miami didn't look all that impressive against this Ole Miss team. Ole Miss was kind of in it with them. Both teams did not look that impressive to me. You gotta remember this too. Like, I'm not the biggest college football watcher, so like when I watch college football games and I see how the games play out, and I see like how the games are like not super the football game, the play, the quality on the field is just not nearly as good as NFL. It does kind of get a little it just seems very, I mean, it is very amateurish, so it's like, ugh. It's like, what am I watching at some points? Like, I don't want to be watching like a bunch of players just missing tackles and overthrowing their receivers badly, and missing coverages and dropping the ball all the time. Like, that to me, I don't want to see. I don't care if the band is playing loud and the crowd is cheering that high. If I don't got a dog in the fight, then I don't care. I really don't. So, like, that game was a little hard to watch at some points, I will say. Despite it being close, despite it being a game that was actually competitive. But Miami won that game. And that game was played on Thursday, January 8th. And the actual championship game is on Monday, January 19th. So, I mean, from the beginning, when I said, like, we're still playing college football, like, yeah, we're still playing college football. Like, this is taking a long time. Like, it's a little strange to me, and I think to even, like, the biggest college football fans out there. They're like, whoa, like, we're still playing? And this is kind of weird. And then the next semifinal game, the Peach Bowl, I mean, that one was just a flat-out thwomping. Indiana thwomped Oregon 56-22. And I was watching a lot of this game. And then I think at halftime it was like 35-7. And I'm like, all right, I'm out. Like, I've seen what I need to see. This Indiana team is really, really, really good. Really talented, focused, executes plays so well. The quarterback is tremendous with his arm. He knows when to run. The play calling is really good. The tempo is quick. It was so bizarre because, Oregon was also a very, very, very good team. A lot of people had them, even better than Indiana. And when the time came to play the game, it was pretty much like those Oregon comments were like non-existent. Like, that wasn't even a thing. Like, who was even saying this about Oregon when you got Indiana just running up and down the field on these guys? They made it. They scored some points. Like, they scored 22 points, but like those were like very, very late and like without a reach of competitive. Like, we could come back and win. It was just like kind of like sorry points. I mean, like this team, like I said, Indiana is no joke this year. Whether they become a dynasty after this or are they just a one-hit wonder, I don't know. But, as far as we can tell, and as far as what we can say about this season's college football, is that this Indiana team has been quite the surprise coming into this national championship game. Quite the surprise on how they got to this point. And by the way, Fernando Mendoza played even better in this game. Was a surgeon with throwing the football, and I mean, he's projected to go number one pick, and I've been seeing how he plays. Now we still got one more game to really determine how good this guy really, really is on the biggest stage ever against Miami, who I think is, not as good of a team as Indiana. But we got a chance to see him on the biggest stage of his life. And I will tell you this. I'm sold on this guy as the number one pick. And it looks to be that the Las Vegas Raiders have the number one pick in this year's draft. If the Las Vegas Raiders do not take this guy as the number one pick, then they have lost the season. Like, I cannot think of a surefire number one pick in the draft at quarterback since, I want to say, 2012 Andrew Luck. Sure, we've had we've had a bunch of number one picks like Jared Goff. We had Mitch Trubisky, who was the number one pick. We had what was his name? Who went first in the draft with Mac Jones and all those boys? Trevor Lawrence, I think. He was the number one pick. Who else? Cam Ward just went last year, number one. But I can't think of a surefire number one pick to go, the quarterback to pick in the draft. Like, you need to pick him up, like Fernando Mendoza. Like, you gotta get him. If the Raiders don't pass on, if they do pass on this guy, then their season is pretty much done. Like, not just because of they're gonna play bad, which I'm probably sure they will play bad, even with Mendoza. But I mean, you gotta have some kind of future at quarterback. I mean, those guys have been just jumping around from quarterback to quarterback, and you've had no success whatsoever. You need an actual number one pick, and this guy is the guy so far. So if they don't pick this guy, then I'm sorry. If you're a fan, I would just call the season over already. You have nothing. You had Geno Smith this season. You had I don't even know who they had last year. It's so hard to remember. What was it, Gardner Minshew? You got to get an actual franchise guy for the future. If you ruin him, so be it. But you gotta give yourself a chance. You could tank this guy's career. You could tank Fernando Mendoza's confidence, and you can kill his entire career. You could, but you got to give yourself a shot at least getting him and seeing what he's got and how you can play to his strengths. I mean, if you don't do that, then I think you've lost the season and the fans. So my prediction for the national championship, I'm going to go with Indiana over Miami. I don't think that Miami is close to as good. I don't think Carson Beck is even close to how good of a quarterback Fernando Mendoza is. I think that Indiana is just in a groove right now, almost in a flow state where they are just unstoppable. And they have proved it against Bama and against Oregon. And I think that Miami is just a lesser team than both those teams. And I think they're going to whomp them. Absolutely whomp them on Monday night. Moving on to some NFL. This is going to be a football episode, by the way, because a lot has happened. And I am excited to talk about this. A couple of things Well, we'll talk about the games first. We had an insane wild card weekend of football, and I was able to watch a lot of those games. And man, were they incredible! There were some good games. We'll go through them. And let's see. We had to start the wild card round. Rams 34, Panthers 31. My God. That was a rough game to watch for me as a Rams fan. Started off pretty solid. Very, very solid. We scored, I think, on our first possession. It was quick and easy. We were scoring, moving up the field. Playing very well, but very efficient. Carolina kind of found a groove, had some defensive plays. We got a little bit down, I will say. The confidence was dipping quite a bit. Matthew Stafford was not playing to his full potential on some of these snaps, man. He was making inaccurate throws. Receivers were dropping throws or passes. It was getting kind of ugly out there. I'm not going to lie. And I know we were able to battle back and win this game, but the fact that Carolina was able to, get that out of them and be very competitive and us barely winning at the very end, not something that I want to go through. I know neutral fans are like, yeah, that was a good game. For me, no. I mean, I would have much rather had a absolute thwomping of the Panthers, but that just wasn't meant to be. But you know what? I mean, at least we were battle tested. We were able to fight back. I'm still worried about Matthew Stafford's little hand injury and where he's at mentally with how he was throwing that ball. I don't think it was all due to the fact that he hurt his hand. He had a lot of bad decisions at quarterback that day. Balls that he just sailed. Like, why are you doing that? Why are you making this throw? Why are you going this deep? You don't need to do that yet. You have time. Just surgically work your way up the field. I mean, a lot of things that they did as an offense to get back into the game that didn't really do much is very concerning to me, because it's almost like they tried so quickly to get back into it when they did not need to. They could have, slowed the pace down. They had a lot of time on the clock and just, work your way there, not having to rush things or make bad calls, So, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm glad that we won, but I would like to see much more composure from Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay when it comes to the decision-making of which place to go for when you're down, when you need to score, and, when you still have time on the clock. Next was the Bears beating the Packers 31-27. This was a great game to watch, man, because I don't really like any of these teams. I don't care for the Bears with Caleb Williams. I don't care for the Packers at all. But it was nice to see the Bears beating the Packers, I will say, because the Packers have owned the Bears for a long, long time, and I was just kind of sick of it. I wanted the Packers to lose so bad, and watching that game to the end was an incredible NFL game. Like, that's like the NFL at its peak right there. Packers, Bears in really cold temperatures. The Packers are winning in the first half, seeming like they got the Bears, down, and then like the Bears come back and win. The Packers had a pretty good lead. It was like 21-6 going into the second half. And I mean, like, they were like rolling, and they were like just like, on an offensive like dominance. And the Bears had nothing at the first half. And they came back, and I was like, oh yeah, this is incredible. So I'm happy that the Bears won. I am. I'm not happy that the Rams have to play them next week, but we'll get to that soon. The Bills beat the Jaguars 27-24. This was a close game. This was a very, very close game between two really good teams. The Jaguars, man, are playing very, very well. Despite Trevor Lawrence playing really good, he still has those Trevor Lawrence moments where he will turn over the ball when he absolutely doesn't need to. It's just like a really bad throw and coverage, like the receiver's totally covered. You don't got to throw the ball there. Throw it somewhere else. Don't turn the ball over like that. He still makes those decisions. He still makes those really poor choices to throw that ball there. That to me is something that it's like, really, he's still doing this? He's been in the league for what, six years now? So that's just some, Trevor Lawrence things that he's just got to clean up. I don't know. Like, it's only him that can clean that up. That's like no coach can coach that out of him. That's himself. He's just got to do that. But entertaining game. Josh Allen came in clutch. Josh Allen had to do a lot of things this game. He put his body on the line this game, man. It was crazy to see that. He was running. He got hurt so bad he had to go to the tent, the medical tent twice. One that looked like a concussion, the other like a leg injury. It was crazy. This guy was just, doing everything. And it seems like he's going to have to be doing every single thing their entire playoff run for the most part. But the Bills beat them 27-24. Entertaining games, man. We've had some really good wild card games this year so far. We've been blessed. We have gotten some really awesome games, which is, something that we should be getting, right? This is the NFL. This is the most competitive football league in the world. This is how it should be, and it's just amazing to see great football on display like this. It's incredible. Next, we have the 49ers defeating the Eagles 23-19. This was a game where I was completely torn on who I wanted to win. Number one, I do not like the 49ers at all. They are a divisional foe. I don't like them at all. I don't like their fans. Everything about the 49ers I really do not like. I hate the Philadelphia Eagles so much, maybe more right now than the San Francisco 49ers. Because of their recency and success, their fraudulent play, their phony records, how they win their games. I recently despised them much more than the San Francisco 49ers. So I will say this. While I did not want any of these teams to win, I am much more, I guess you could say, satisfied with the Eagles losing. I'm much more satisfied that the 49ers won and the Eagles lost than the other way around. I can't stand the Eagles. I really can't. And it seems like Eagles fans can't stand them either. I've seen so many clips online of fans just berating Nick Sirianni, A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts. Like, the entire team is being bombarded by hatred. Not hatred, but like criticism from Eagles fans. Fed up with their team. Fed up of how they perform in these games. And I will say this. I could care less about Eagles fans. I'm just happy your team is gone and out of the playoffs. Gone. Bye-bye. But they do have a point when it comes to the play calling from Kevin Petula, who's no longer with the team, was fired. And that boy A.J. Brown crying all season. Throw me the ball. Throw me the ball. Give me the ball. I need the ball. I want the ball. If you don't give me the ball, yeah. It's like they gave you the ball like in two crucial points in the game, and you could not come up with the play. And then you just go to the sideline and just complain. You can't do that. You're part of the team. That is not what team players do. That is selfishness, cowardice. That is not something that you do at all. If I'm like A.J. Brown, or if I'm Nick Sirianni in that position, I'm like, you do not go back onto that field if you are going to complain like that. You will sit on the bench and you will not get back out there if you complain about that again. You're going to tell me that you're complaining about your targets and your catches, and we're giving you the ball, and because we try to give you the ball, we can't move forward, we can't win the game, we can't put ourselves in a position to win. You're here to tell me that you want more targets? Nah. Sit on the bench. I would not have that. That is something that is not tolerable. That would not happen if I was a head coach. Like, but I'm not. But like, if that was to happen, I'd be like, no, that is not happening. Not on my watch. But yeah, they ended up losing. 49ers played good enough. Brock Purdy had some pretty bad throws, pretty bad interceptions. Christian McCaffrey came alive, and George Kittle got very injured. Torn Achilles, which is very sad to see. Especially for a guy like George, who's been with the Niners for his entire career, has been to the Super Bowl a few times, never won, and, still trying to get there. But obviously, his team is in it, but he will not be there for the remainder of the season. It's tough to see that. That's hard to, see someone go through all of that and then just get it taken away by Achilles injury, which is a brutal injury which will take him a long, long time for him to come back, at least an entire season. Maybe a little less than an entire year, but at that point, it's like once you come back from that, it's like you better be ready to go. And then lastly, for the wild card weekend, we had two more actually. Chargers, Patriots beat the Chargers 16-3. The Patriots just had an entire offensive, not clinic, but show of dominance over the Chargers, who just couldn't get anything done offensively whatsoever. It was quite sad to watch. And then Texans beat the Steelers 30-6. Yeah, if this is the final game of Aaron Rodgers' career, then it was a bad one because, like the Chargers, the Steelers could not get anything going on offense, and it was just kind of really, really sad to watch, honestly. Not something that you wanted to go out with of it potentially being your final game in the NFL. It is sad, but yeah. The Steelers have gone so many years of winning records and not a whole lot of playoff wins. I think this is their 7th playoff loss in a row. They have not been good in the playoffs. They make it in the regular season. They're consistent enough to get winning records. They're in. But when it comes to the playoffs, man, they just don't perform, and they don't just not perform. They perform badly, where it's dang, they didn't even give us a chance. They had no shot at winning this game. 30-6, man. That is just unfair in a lot of ways. Moving on to some the next week's games and my predictions, what's going to happen. First game, Buffalo versus Denver. I think that Buffalo's luck runs dry. I think Denver is a more complete team and does not have to have the weight of the entire game on one person's shoulders, unlike in Buffalo where it's literally Josh Allen or nothing. I think the Denver Broncos win this game. Seattle or San Francisco versus Seattle. I think that Seattle wins this game. I think that the injuries for San Francisco have reached an ultimate where now you don't have Kittle. It's going to be very, very hard to score points against this Seattle team in Seattle. I think that Kyle Shanahan's going to have to come up with a master plan to at least score some points against this Seattle defense. And I think that Robert Saleh is going to have to pull a genie out of a bottle to get his defense to, at least put up a fight against the Seattle Seahawks offense. Sunday's games, Houston versus New England. I think that New England wins this game. I don't think that Houston is that good, and New England has Drake May and all these playmakers on the ball that could really exploit Houston's defense and score some points. So I'm gonna take New England on that game. Last game of the weekend, Rams versus Bears. I'm gonna go with the Rams because I'm a Rams fan, but I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I am kind of scared to go into this game. I really am. Listen, the way the Bears came back and defeated the Packers, that is something that is not to be overlooking. Is to not overlook. That took a lot out of them to do that. A lot of grit, a lot of passion, a lot of emotion to do that. We are playing in Chicago. We are not a good cold weather team. Obviously, we play in Los Angeles. So, this is going to be a game that is not going to be easy for us, I don't think. The way we kind of struggle with the Panthers in bits and pieces worries me. The play calling in areas where it could have been, much more simplified, got a little too complicated, and forcing errors upon our offense, receivers, quarterback, you name it. We were just making errors that we don't normally make. Drops were happening. Balls are being overthrown, underthrown, completely missed targets, interceptions. It's not something that we can continue getting away with when we go to Chicago, because Chicago is a high momentum team. If they get a sense of momentum, they get the ball rolling, I think that we're in trouble. I really do. And I think that when the other teams get rolling, our offense has a very, very hard time to get back into a groove. And we could run out of time that way to score points. So I'm going with my Rams, but I'm nervous. I really am. This is going to be a tough game for me to sit through. I'm not going to lie to you. So yeah, those are my picks. Broncos, Seahawks, New England, and the Rams. All the home teams except for the away team in Chicago. So we'll see how that turns out. Little more NFL news. Mike Tomlin has stepped down as head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. After 19 seasons, he is stepping down from head coaching duties. Should this have happened? Yeah, I think so. I think that organization needs new life in it. It's going to be very hard to do because you're not really set with any very young and exciting players. I mean, you have Aaron Rodgers, I believe, still, but he hasn't announced his retirement yet. He definitely is not a younger quarterback anymore. And I think that the stepping down of Tomlin is a move in the right direction. You get somebody younger, get somebody who is more, has more energy, is new, was wanting to try new things to get this team to perform better in the playoffs. And I think that Tomlin was a very, very consistent in the regular season coach. And when it comes to the playoffs, that consistency lacks. It lacked a lot of trying new things to win close games, and that is what lacked the most. And when you come into the playoffs, you got to be able to try new things and think outside the box, and Tomlin was not the guy for that, and wasn't that guy for that for a long time. He wasn't pushing the pace. He didn't try new stuff. He was just trying his old tricks, essentially. And it wasn't enough. So you got to get somebody younger in Pittsburgh and go from there. Let's see. One last thing before I go. This is going to be a short episode just because I'm pressed for time. All of the 4 trailers of the Avengers Doomsday movie are out. We have Captain America in one, Thor in the other one, the X-Men in the third, and Wakanda and Fantastic Four in the fourth one. So we now have all 4, I guess you could say, teasers for Avengers Doomsday coming out in this December. I gotta say, out of all 4 of them, that X-Men one was pretty cool. It has Professor X, it has Magneto, and Cyclops like using his fire eyes and just a big wave of red. It was cool to see that. I'm not gonna lie. Cool to see Cyclops. The other boys, I'm not gonna lie, bro. They up there in age. They old. They looking very old. I don't think that they could fight off. I don't think that they can fight Thanos. I think they might be cooked. I think that however they're gonna do this, right? This whole Doomsday movie. It ain't earned. I've said this before. It ain't earned. They're just putting him in there for shock value. So I guess whether the movie does good or bad, it will determine like if they use more of like the X-Men in the MCU. I would assume. I have no idea, but that's just kind of how I'm thinking about it. Yeah, they're all out. The most exciting one for sure was the X-Men one because it's like, holy crap, the X-Men are going to be in the MCU. How is this going to work? I got no damn idea, But hey, well, they got that out of the way, right? They put the X-Men in. So we should not be having these very cryptic trailers in the future, right? You know how like Infinity War and Endgame had like very like secretive trailers, like they didn't show a whole lot. They edited characters out, they edited sequences out, they edited backgrounds out. They've already showed us that the X-Men are going to be in this movie. So like there really is no point in like hiding like characters of who's not going to be there. They also did a cast announcement, so we know who's going to be in the movie, So we shouldn't be getting any of these like cryptic secret trailers that we got in the last wave of Avengers movies. So I'd expect them to go kind of full out and show us like what this movie will contain in order to keep the excitement with fans and with like casuals and occasional haters like myself. Anyway, we'll see about that. All right, that's going to be it for me today, people. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Remember, you can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube at Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. New episodes drop every Thursday morning. Make sure to like, subscribe, rate, review, and do all that good stuff. And yes, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next week.